Let's do this. Hey guys, how y'all doing? BionicleSaurus here, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at the second Spinosaurus by Safari Unlimited for the Carnegie collection. So this figure here is, of course, the early 2000s repaint. I can't remember which specific year, but I believe somewhere around 2005 or 6. And of course the mold is from their original figure, which came out in 1992, I believe. Perhaps 1993 or 4. But at any rate, let's get started talking about this figure, and oh boy, I must say this is probably the worst figure that has ever been reviewed on this series. So when it comes to overall appearance, this figure just comes across to me anyway as extremely generic. I mean, if you take away that Spinosaurus sail, it could really pass for a megalosaur or a primitive carnosaur even. I mean, that sail is the only thing making this not a completely average theropod indistinguishable from the rest, and because of that, it just is not really all that intriguing to look at. It doesn't really jump out at you that much besides the sail. There's nothing else really notable about how it looks. The pose is also extremely just boring to me. I mean, he's not even walking, his legs are just right next to one another as he's just standing here with his arms almost comically outstretched, roaring off into the distance, his tail just curved in a perfect half circle, dragging on the ground. This figure is just quite unsightly, to be honest. At the very least, the paint job is at least somewhat well done, or at least the coloration is a bit interesting. I quite like the contrast between the dark black and that kind of deep brick or blood red on the sail. It does look pretty good. So, for overall appearance, I give this figure only a C. Can't remember the last time I've given any figure that rating or a rating close to that low for any category, but to be honest, while the coloration isn't terrible, besides that, this figure could easily pass for just some generic toy that you could find at any dollar store. Now let's talk about detail. And oh good lord, I mean, just look at it. Can you even call this detail? Look at how badly the teeth are painted. They're just these little white just dots. Look at the dull dead eyes. Look at this texturing. It's just like some weird messy looking wrinkliness. This is just very poor. I mean, most of the paint application is at least okay, but at the end of the day, there's not a scale sculpted on this entire figure. I mean, it's just this kind of annoying old wrinkly texture. I mean, even though this mold was created years after the old 1988 original Carnegie figures, it's really no better in the detail department. I mean, it's just kind of just, I don't know, this just looks really bad. I mean, there's nothing crisp or nice looking about this texture. It's just extremely mediocre. So, for detail, I give this figure only a B-. It's not the lowest rating ever, but it's not that good either. Now let's talk about accuracy. Well, first off, let's just compare this figure to the standard of accuracy set by the pre-2014 Spinosaurus. Let's say something like the Spinosaurus from Planet Dinosaur, or even the later figure from Safari Unlimited for the Carnegie collection. Well, if we're going by that model of accuracy, then the legs are quite stumpy. I mean, they don't even barely look triple bent. They're just kind of these thick, fat tree trunk legs. The tail is just short and wimpy as all get out, and it should not be curving like this. This looks like a rat tail. It seriously belongs on some rodent. The sail, well, there's actually nothing glaringly wrong with it. The hands are pronated. The torso is just kind of oddly shaped. He has really fat hips, and then it kind of narrows by the shoulders. This guy, he looks kind of fat and Godzilla-like, and it really should have more of a thick barrel-shaped torso and more of a bulky, muscular upper torso and chest area. The arm length looks about right. He's lacking the large claw on the first digit, though. That's a problem. The neck is appropriately on the long-ish side, at the very least. They kind of got that right. The skull is completely wrong. Seriously, it's like reconstructing a cheetah with an elephant's head. It just in no way resembles the actual head of the animal, or the skull or head of any Spinosaurid. It's completely wrong. I can't even go into individual things about it. It's just there's nothing right about it besides it has nostrils and eyes and ears and teeth. Just like every frickin' theropod, or just most vertebrate heads in general. I mean, not all of them have teeth, but I suppose not all of them have nostrils. Some of them have gills. But whatever. It's not the point. The point is that there is almost nothing right about this figure. Now, let's look at the accuracy of this figure based on the model of accuracy set by the 2014 and onward Spinosaurus. Now, there's sort of a debate still going on between whether or not the recent reconstruction is actually accurate or not. But if we're going by that, then we have even more issues. First of all, the sail should have a dip in it. It should be almost kind of a big M shape. Well, I mean, not really, but kind of like almost like two sails that fuse in the middle. The torso should be much longer, and the legs should be much shorter. So, to be honest, if you're going by the 2014 and beyond Spinosaurus, then this guy's very inaccurate. But even if you're not, it's still incredibly inaccurate. I mean, this is just a horribly done figure for a line of figures that claims to be museum quality and scientifically accurate. I mean, didn't we know at the time? I mean, I know this was 1992, but I mean, dang, it's still just so bad. And the fact that this repaint is from the early 2000s, when there's no way that this could be considered accurate, and yet they were still putting out this figure all the way until the end of Carnegie in 2015. That's kind of shameful, to be honest. I mean, this is honestly, I'm just exhausted from talking about this. So, yeah, for accuracy, I'm gonna hand out a D. Honestly, I don't think I've ever given a frickin' D for any category to any figure on this entire series of reviews. But this guy has deserved a frickin' D. He is so close to a complete fail. But thankfully, him somewhat resembling a general theropod shape saves him. So, yeah. Well, now that horrible, unpleasant rant is over, it's time to actually talk about the overall rating for this figure, which is a C. Yeah, he didn't do the absolute worst he could have, but he really didn't do that well. At the end of the day, this is just an ugly, outdated, bland, just straight up, I'm just gonna say straight up bad figure. Don't ever get this unless you're like a collector of now discontinued figures, unless you like that kind of stuff, or you love the Carnegie collection, or maybe you're a nut about Spinosaurus. But there's very few valid excuses for picking this figure up. My excuse was I was probably like 7 years old, so that's a pretty good one, but yeah. Thank you for watching, and BionicleSaurus signing out. And sorry for this being such a random, ranty, lazy-feeling review, but honestly, I don't know, I felt like going back in time and talking about some really old bad figure, and yeah, and I hope you enjoy, as you can see in front of you, the absolute destruction of that old 1990s inaccurate monstrosity by the new Collecta Spinosaurus. So, yes, anyway, goodbye, thanks for watching, BionicleSaurus signing out.